Welcome back to GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Thursday, March 20th. If you were just tuning in, we just finished going over a lot of big NFL stories that broke yesterday and this morning. In this segment, we turn our attention to March Madness. A lot of the games underway have already started in the round of 64. The first four games are over and done with, but we're going to turn our attention over to the Friday slate. 16 games on Friday. We're going to go over each and every one, break them down, who's going to win, starting off with the first 8 game, the early pod, the first and second pod of games that take place tomorrow. But before we do that, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Thursday, March 20th. But like I was saying, we are going to get into a little bit here on the first 8 games on the slate for tomorrow. We're going to start off with one of them that is a true pick'em game. The Baylor Bears taking on the number 9 seed Baylor Bears, taking on number 8 Mississippi State. Mississippi State coming from that stacked SEC. It's a conference that brought 14 teams, the most ever, to a tournament. This game is going to be electric. This is one of those games that I've gone back and forth on over and over again. But at the end of the day, I'm trusting the team that has a little bit more tournament experience in Baylor. Baylor has a coach that's been there and done that. They've won a national title. This is a great Mississippi State team, and I think Mississippi State favored by 1 in this one shows why this game is must-view experience, right? We saw Creighton-Louisville, the other really close 8-9 matchup, lead off the day today. Creighton blew them out. Louisville just couldn't really hit a shot in the first quarter. Creighton shooting nearly 60% from the field. That's just what's going to happen at that point. But I think this game is going to be what we thought Creighton-Louisville might be. I think this game is going to be what we expected it to be. And I think Baylor comes out on top in this one, although it absolutely is going to be an incredibly close game. And I'm not confident about either one of these. The next one goes the opposite way. Number 2, Alabama, taking on number 15, Robert Morris. And in the last couple years, there's been a lot of 15-2 upsets. Alabama favored by 21.5 in this game, but the way that Alabama plays basketball, their quick pace, they're more experienced than they were last year. This is a team that was a number 2 seed for a very good reason. This is a team that when we went through all of the historical indicators to see who could win, we narrowed it down to 5 teams. They were still there. Alabama, one of those top 5 teams based on historical trends that can still win this tournament. They're top 12 in both offensive and defensive efficiency by KenPom. Alabama is going to win this game. 21.5 is a lot of points, but we've seen bigger blowouts before. I think they take care of business in this one. Alabama wins by 1 million. Lipscomb versus Iowa State, though, the 14-seed Lipscomb taking on the 3-seed Iowa State is really interesting. Iowa State, of course, without their best player, one of their guys that brings the most points. Iowa State all year has been thriving on defense. They've been a very great defensive team. They're still a great defensive team, but their offense, especially their shooting, has struggled at times. They shoot a lot. When they shoot the ball, it doesn't always work out for them. They're not the best 3-point shooting team. Lipscomb, on the other hand, pretty solid 3-point shooting team. And this one, they could give them trouble. Iowa State, I still think at the end of the day, is a better team than Lipscomb. They were near the top of every single ranking for a very good reason. But losing your best player is going to hurt. I think 14.5 is too tight. We've seen a lot of upsets in recent years of 14-3s, 15-2s. This is one to keep an eye on, but I think Iowa State, even without their best player, finds a way to win this one, advance to the round of 32. I just don't think 14.5 points is enough. I still think Lipscomb probably covers that, but Iowa State moves on. Up next, we've got Colorado State, the 12 seed, taking on the 5 seed Memphis. And this one's interesting because Colorado State, the 12 seed, actually favored in this one by 1.5 points. Colorado State won the Mountain West this year, but the Mountain West has really struggled in tournaments when they're not a top 5 seed. We saw San Diego State get boat raced by UNC in the first 4 game a couple days ago. Memphis is a very solid team. They were in the top 25 for most of the season. They were flirting with top 15 for a while as well. Memphis is a great 5 seed. They are going to win this matchup. I don't understand why Colorado State is favored, if I'm being completely honest with you. Colorado State's a solid team. They took down Boise State in the finals. They play good defense, but I really do like what Memphis brings to the table, and I think Memphis is going to take care of business pretty handily against this Colorado State 12-seeded team. Then we get our first 16-1 of the day with Duke favored by 32.5 points against Mount St. Mary's. Mount St. Mary's, of course, looked pretty solid in their first 4 game that took place yesterday, but it's still a 16 seed versus a 1 seed. This one doesn't deserve too much conversation. At the end of the day, Duke is by KenPom, the second best team in the history of college basketball ever. By those rankings, only trailing a 1999 Duke team. But still, this Duke team is very good. They're going to win this game by a lot of points. Mount St. Mary's, congratulations on winning a tournament game. You just ran into a juggernaut in Duke at number 1. Then we have a really interesting one. The number 10 Vanderbilt Commodores taking on the St. Mary's Gales. 7 seed St. Mary's, they're tournament veterans. They seem to be in around a 7 seed every single year. They play at an incredibly slow pace. Vanderbilt, on the other hand, new coach Mark Byington, coming over from James Madison University, has brought this team to the tournament. Of course, the entirety of this Vanderbilt team and the entirety of the SEC seemingly has made the tournament. But this is going to be a really interesting matchup because St. Mary's, like I said, likes to play slow. That can get Vanderbilt out of their game. It's just this game is going to depend on whose pace they play at. If you play at St. Mary's pace, St. Mary's is going to win. St. Mary's is favored by 4.5. But if Vanderbilt can get St. Mary's to rush a little bit, take a little bit less time, take a little bit less time on their possessions, force them into bad shots, I think Vanderbilt can pull it off, and I think this is one that will happen. I think that Vanderbilt is a team that is built for March here. They can go on a bit of a run. Of course, they'd run into Alabama in the next round, but still, I like this Vanderbilt team a lot. I think they take care of business. Vandy wins versus St. Mary's. Then we have our first of the 11 seeds out of the first 4. UNC favored in this one by 2.5 points, taking on number 6 Ole Miss. Again, another one of those uber-talented SEC schools. Ole Miss is a little bit inconsistent, though. Their offense is among the best in the country, but they just haven't quite been as consistent on defense, and UNC coming in on a heater. Aside from a loss versus Duke, they have a couple losses versus Duke down the stretch. They have been near unbeatable. They absolutely dismantled a team in San Diego State when they took them on in the first 4. A team that has won a first 4 game has gone to go on a run in every single tournament over the last couple years, some all the way to the Final 4. 11 seeds out of the ACC tend to do pretty good. We saw NC State go on a big run last year. I think UNC continues that tradition. They take care of business against a very good Ole Miss squad. They win in a tight one. And the final game of the early window, I'll say the first 2 windows of games taking place tomorrow. Number 13, Grand Canyon taking on number 4, Maryland. Maryland favored by 10.5 in this one. The 4 seed Maryland is really good. They're a team that's my dark horse pick to win the bracket this year. I love this Maryland team and their Crab 5, one of the best starting 5s in all of college basketball. Just purely based on the starting lineups, I'd put them toe-to-toe with just about anybody. Grand Canyon made the tournament last year. They were a trendy pick. They're a good team. They're a good 13 seed. They can shoot the heck out of the ball, but it's just not going to be enough versus a very good Maryland team that's just consistent. Depth might get to them, but Maryland against Grand Canyon, I just don't think will be that close. So the early windows, I've got Baylor over Mississippi State, Alabama over Robert Morris, Iowa State over Lipscomb, Memphis over Colorado State, Duke over Mount St. Mary's, Vandy over St. Mary's, UNC over Ole Miss, and Maryland over Grand Canyon. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think of any of these games? We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention over to the late window, the final 8 games that take place tomorrow on Friday. We're going to break all of them down. Who's going to win those matchups? Why I think that's coming up next here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.